Alright guys, so I wanted to film this video to talk about how we turned $15,000 into a $50 million brand within 5 years. And this is probably more catered towards those who are just starting out or who think that you can't launch a brand without having a massive balance to start with. So we founded ALYA SKIN in 2018, at the very start of 2018. At the time, skincare was trending, but not many people had entered the space online. So we knew the demand was there, but we definitely found and identified a gap in the market. And the gap that we found was we wanted to start a clay mask that didn't dry out your skin. And there were a couple of competitors at the time who were operating similar products and selling similar products online, and they were doing quite well. And I think that there's this common misconception where founders and entrepreneurs try to find areas to launch a brand where there is no one else in the space, right? So they don't want competition, or they see it as a bad thing. And I think that that's a myth, right? I think that you need to launch into a competitive space because it means that there is demand there. But the thing is, there are things that you can do to find your edge and find gaps in the market within that specific category. One of those things that you can do is you can look at what type of brand you want to build, and that's what we did. So we wanted to build a brand that was colorful, playful, appealed to a younger demographic. They were conscious about their skin health, and we formulated our first product, which was the clay mask. And there were many clay masks that had launched at the time that were doing really well. And clay masks weren't an innovative product, right? They've been around for centuries. But what we did is we made it pink. So not only was it safe for sensitive skin and didn't dry your skin out, but we made it pink, which meant that it was Instagrammable. So when you're formulating your brand and your product, think about it from a perspective of, does this product have virality and does it work? Now, the way that you can make a product viral is by the way that it looks. So if you're in the health and beauty space, add color to your mix, right? Imagine people using your product in videos. Is it shareable? Does it stand out, or does it look boring and clinical? Okay, so these are things you can do at the very start when you're formulating your product and doing NPD and building out your brand identity. Will it pop on the shelf? These are the kind of things you should ask yourself. So basically we launched with the one hero SKU. We trial and tested it for about 6 months. And when we launched, our first month, we looked at it as like a content creation month. Before that, to validate our idea, we basically sent it out to like 30 to 40 people and asked for their honest opinion. And what we did is we sent it out with our competitor's product. And then we put the product in blank jars and got them to test and tell us what was the best version of each product. And that was how we validated our idea. We didn't set up a website and drop ship the product or any of that. So once we launched with about $15,000 each, my business partner and I. And essentially what we did is went city by city in Australia. We launched in Australia, and we wanted to send the product out to potential customers, okay? So we weren't looking for micro influencers. We were looking for potential customers. So we created our customer avatar. We knew that it was 18 to 30-year-old women, 18 to 24 being our primary demographic, but 24 to 30 was our secondary. And we literally database girls for 2 months before we launched the brand. And because our cost of goods was quite cheap, it was costing us around $15 to send a parcel out to someone. So we were sending out on average around 500 units per month, okay? And we weren't looking for high follower accounts. We were looking for would-be customers. And I personally think the best way to grow your brand when you're new is through word of mouth, especially because of rising ad costs. So we would database them, then we would send them out a blast email using Google Mail Merge. And within that email, we'd have a Google form, and it would say, we really love what you're about. We think that you fit into our demographic perfectly. We'd love to send you out some product and just get your honest feedback. And this was a really cost-effective way to get our brand out there. And what started happening is these girls wanted to be seen as influencers. So they would post our product 5 times a week. Every time they'd use the mask, they'd post it because they'd want us to reshare it, right? So we found accounts that didn't have emails in their bio and that weren't influencers. So accounts that hadn't posted for a product before. Because the thing is, those kind of accounts, when they do post for a product, everyone takes notice of it. Okay, so again, another myth is that you have to find accounts with big followers. It's just not true. So we did this for about 6 months. And at the same time, we used their content to create ads. And a lot of that content provided us really high converting ads, but it took us about 2 to 3 months to really find our groove with paid media. I just wanted to note that this exercise that we did with the micros, we tracked it by running a separate P&L, and what we found is that it was a very profitable way to grow the brand. Like, we had accounts with 600 followers making us 30 sales, right? And our average order value at the time was around $60. The other thing we did, because we were a single product store, is we really did emphasize on pushing bundles, okay? So we would bundle a 2-pack and a 3-pack. And instead of offering a discount amount, what we did is we marketed it in a way where we said, use it for 2 months for the best results. So we'd market it as a 2-month pack and then a 3-month pack. That's how we were really able to increase the AOV. So if you're growing a new brand, you don't have to discount your product, okay guys? Discounting your product is only one way in which you can get people to spend more, but it's also the quickest way to ruin your brand in the long run if you're constantly offering discounts, especially if you're going into retail stores. So if you have a retail strategy plan, which I'll talk on later, it's critical that you don't thrash discounts online because retailers don't like that. So around 6 months in is when we really started to find our groove, and what helped us is really understanding our customer and focusing on their desires and what it is that they wanted as a result of using our product. So we did this through doing customer research, and a really handy way to do this is to go into your competitors' product pages or Amazon and go through the negative reviews and find areas that you can market and different hooks that you can market based on the negative reviews of your competitors. So if one of them is there's not enough value for money, or the product dries my skin out, or it wasn't safe for sensitive skin, these are different hooks that you can use, okay? And then start to build out a content strategy based on those. And what I call those are pillars of scale. So the idea is to find as many pillars of scale as you can. A pillar of scale can be a USP or a desire, okay? And that's how we scaled our brand, which was through content. And every time we'd launch content that converted, we'd build out variants of it and we would scale. And so this allowed us to do around 2.5 million in our first year, but it catapulted us to $8 million in our second year. And we were running at about 30% net margins at this time. And we didn't really spend a ton of money on paid influencers. We really just focused on that micro influencer. Well, I wouldn't even call it a micro influencer. We focused on sending out our product to would-be customers, and we obviously focused on scaling up paid media. But what we did really well was building a community around our brand. So from the very get-go, all of those people that we were sending product to, we invited them into a private Facebook community group. And this group's purpose was to build up an army of women who would support our brand over the long run. And by the end of it, when we finally sold the brand, we had around 16,000 people in that paid group. What that meant is, whenever we had a new product launch, a new drop, an event, we would drop it into that group and we would sell 1,000 units in the first day of launch, and we wouldn't have to acquire customers to achieve that 1,000 sales. So once you have sent out your product to people, don't just disregard them and let them go and drift off into the wind. Add them to the group. Ask them to share weekly or monthly updates on how their skin's going so that you can then use that content. Take people through a customer journey. So use these people to your advantage. Make them feel like family. Send out NPD to them, right? Send out samples to them and ask them for feedback. It's really important, guys. The most successful brands in the world are building communities around your brand. And you'll notice that, especially in today's world where it is super competitive. And the brands that last, and that last for a long time and scale profitably, all of them have built a community around them. It's really hard to find a brand that hasn't. So once we hit around the $8 million in revenue mark, that's when we started looking at ways to grow out our product pipeline. And probably one of my biggest regrets is not doing that earlier. So because we had so much success with the initial SKU, we literally were tunnel vision. So we were focusing on creating converting ads, and we didn't put enough emphasis on NPD in the get-go. And I wish we did that earlier, but we did manage to launch NPD, and that's as well how we grew, because we managed to take our average order value from $60 to $120 within 2 years. And this, as you can imagine, really drove the business, right? Like, we went from 8 million to $18 million a year in revenue, and that's when we started to expand into retail stores. And what was interesting is that when we went into retail stores in Australia, it actually helped our online sales grow massively, because it provided brand proofing, right? So what would happen is people would try our products in retail, and then they would end up repurchasing online, okay? And just on that topic, I want to talk a little bit about when you should approach retailers and how to approach them. If you're a new brand, don't approach retailers until you have sales data, okay? You need to have at least a few $100,000 worth of sales data, because the thing is, what retailers want from you as a brand is they want to see how you're going to drive new feet into their store, and how you're going to convert existing customers who already shop at their store and get them to purchase more product, okay? So without having proof, you need proof, right? The proof's in the pudding. Without having sales data, without showing them a Google Drive folder of 1,000 micro-influencers that have posted for you, hundreds of reviews, it's really hard to get you to take these guys seriously unless you have a super innovative trending product, okay? But retail has to be a strategy for you as a brand. If you want to build up to a multi-million-dollar exit, you have to have a retail footprint, okay? Because the way that VCs look and analyze businesses these days, especially e-commerce businesses, is they look at pure e-com brands as far more risky than brands that have retail presence, okay? So it's really important that you guys prepare yourself for that. And what that means is, when you're approaching them and holding meetings with them, again, you need to show them a clear path to success in regards to how am I building up my brand equity enough to really drive feet through the door, okay? So that's just one thing you can do. Sorry about the camera shaking. Now on that note, one thing that I want you guys to remember is this. When things are going really well and the brand's growing, it's easy to get tunnel focused on meta ads, okay? And what happens is it causes a dopamine release. You scale the budgets, you launch winning ads, you're scaling, everything's going well, and then you may neglect other areas of your business. And one thing that I see commonly taking place right now is that people don't understand the value of brand awareness. And they look at brand awareness as a waste of money, because brand awareness, more often than not, will not give you dollars back versus dollars in initially. So what is brand awareness? So brand awareness is the percentage of people within a country that have seen, heard, or know of your brand, put simply, okay? Now, what's important when it comes to brand awareness and why it's powerful is that over time, it will help your ads convert higher. So you'll be able to hit the same ROAS, the same revenue with less spend, okay? So there are some things that we did that really helped us with our brand awareness. One of them was the influencer strategy, or the customer send out that I spoke about. Another was running monthly events. Basically what we do is we'd partner with a PR company and we would hold massive events every month. I remember one of them we did was we hired out a luxury yacht, probably cost us around $15,000. So this is for brands that have a little bit of budget to play with. and there was around 100 people that attended. 80 of them were big influencers in Australia. Now, that $15,000 that we spent on that event generated us around $500,000 worth of posts from these influencers. Okay, so a super cost-effective way to penetrate the market and get your brand out there through macro influencers without paying their large fees. Okay, so doing monthly events, getting content creators there, having a videographer there, generating content is a really powerful way to build up your brand. Okay, the other thing we did is we invested in PR and media outreach. So we wanted to be everywhere at once, and we really focused on getting into really powerful, well-established editorials. So things like Glamour, Pop Sugar, Daily Mail, News.com, Channel 9 News in Australia. And it was kind of like a ripple effect, right? Once we got one article to write about us, we sent that article out to hundreds of editors in Australia, then hundreds of editors in the UK. And what we found is that once we had that first really powerful article, other editors wanted to write about us. So again, this is just one or two ways that you can focus on driving traffic and brand awareness that isn't just focused on meta ads. Because what happens is, guys, and I'm sure we all know this, that meta can be unstable at times. And if you have a brand that's solely reliant on meta, it is a risky business. And big VCs and companies that are going to buy you out, they don't want to see that. They don't want to buy risky brands. So look outside the box, think outside the box. Once meta's going well and you're scaling, don't get complacent. Focus on other areas of the brand and think about how can I grow my brand from a brand awareness perspective, okay? The last thing, because I don't want to flood you guys with too much info, but the last thing I wanted to say is when you're launching a brand is it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff, right? And as a new founder, you should be doing the day-to-day stuff, especially for the first year. You should be running at a low cost. You should be running a low-cost business, okay? Keep your overheads low. Get down and dirty. Do all the things yourself. Learn Facebook ads. Learn content creation, but try not to hyper focus on 24-hour result windows, okay? Because what happens when you do that is you make emotionally charged decisions as a business owner. You'll scale up budgets too quick. You'll scale down budgets too quick. You'll cut ads. You'll say that, oh, this micro-influencer strategy isn't working because we're not seeing sales results straight away, okay? It's really important to train your mind to think in 7-day or 30-day or quarterly windows. As your business matures, those time horizons can expand. What's the 6-month plan? What's the 12-month plan? Where do we want to be as a business in the next 12 to 16 months, okay? If you think ahead and plan ahead, your business will grow. But if you're too caught up on the day-to-day stuff and getting stressed out, like a lot of it, you know, I've been through this, right? I really did go through this. It actually shoots yourself in the foot because you're not able to project where you're going to go and you're not able to plan for the future and work out how you're going to achieve those goals. So when someone asks you or an investor asks you, where's the brand going to be in 12 months? You can't answer the question because you're too focused on the day-to-day, okay? So that's it for today's episode. I'm going to try and film a few of these videos because where I live now in Australia is about a 2-hour drive from the city. So I'm going to try and film these videos and cover different topics, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and also let me know what you want me to touch on when it comes to building a brand. So by the end of that journey with ALYA, we've done just over 65 million in sales, and you know, like, we learned so much along the way. So I really want to share all of this with you guys. So please let me know, and have a great day, everyone.